Crystal tinkles under a dome of warm light. Waiters thread through gowns and tuxedos. In the textile wing, a glass case blooms with a thin breath of fog. A girl with a paper volunteer badge stands, on her toes to see the monitor tucked behind the case. A red dot blinks. She counts under her breath. 1, 2, 3, like she's measuring courage. No one looks down to meet her eyes. She spots the event manager first. "The air's wrong," the girl says. "The fabric's sweating." "Sweetheart," the manager answers without stopping. "Enjoy the program. Facilities has it." At the podium, the board chair polishes his smile and taps the mic. "Tonight, we honor what endures." His cufflinks catch light. His gaze moves over donors, cameras, the fluting on an ice sculpture, never landing on the child hovering near the case. A tiny drop slides down the inside of the glass. The girl's breath snags. She looks up at the ceiling vents. No sound. Too quiet. Someone killed the makeup air for the speeches. She hurries to a soft-spoken curator fidgeting with note cards. "It's climbing," she says, showing him the red dot with a shaky finger. "I can buffer it until you fix the room." He follows her line of sight to the case. "I need to introduce the chair in 30 seconds, he whispers. "Do what you can. Don't open anything." She nods, too fast, too earnest, and disappears toward a side hallway with a scuffed portable unit rattling behind her. It looks like it belongs in a school closet. She drags it back, angles its output toward the glass, and lays small sachets of desiccant along the base, careful not to touch the mountings. Guests begin to watch like it's a sideshow. "Who cleared this?" the manager snaps, moving in. "You can't just—" "If we thin the crowd by the doorway," the girl says, counting to steady herself, "the readings will drop." The manager opens her mouth for a firm no. The chair, amused, beats her there. "Let her have her moment," he says into his mic, a chuckle in his throat. Art inspires initiative. Laughter sparrows around the room. Phones tilt their black eyes toward the child. The red dot pauses. For a heartbeat, hope. Then the fog thickens like the room exhaled all at once. An usher pulls a velvet rope and unveils the centerpiece at the far end. A swan of carved ice, glittering under a spotlight. Cold vapor peels off it and crawls low along the floor. The girl tracks it with her eyes. 3 seconds of panic, then a decision. She slips into a service corridor she studied during tours and flips a metal lever. Labeled in plain language, air stirs. She's back in an instant, hauling a linen tablecloth from a spare stack, and without touching the case, draping it in a way that channels the unit's stream downward, pulling moist air away from the glass. Security moves in. "Kid," one says quietly, "you're done." "She's not wrong," the curator says, arriving breathless, eyes on the fog. "We have minutes." The manager looks from donors to cameras to the chair. "This is a nightmare in sequins. We cannot blow open doors in an evening dress," she hisses. The girl faces the chair. "You can have a perfect speech," she says, voice almost steady, "or you can protect the thing you're praising." A piano melody drifts in from the foyer. The chair's expression falters. Something old and tender splinters through his practiced composure. He nods once, to no one and to everyone. "Stand down," he tells security. "Help her." The hallway becomes choreography. 2 attendants wheel the ice sculpture toward a cooler. The manager signals to crack the loading dock for a 20-second purge. The girl counts aloud, numbers like prayer beads. The unit rattles, a brave small sound against the room's hush. 74 blinks to 66, 61, 58. The fog thins, then clears. The embroidered mantle inside the case relaxes by degrees, threads settling as if eased back into sleep. No one claps at first. The danger left so quietly it feels impolite to admit it was ever there. Then the curator brings his hands together, gentle as a thank you. Applause rises, unsure who it celebrates. The chair returns to the mic but points it away from himself. "Preservation isn't tidy," he says, voice smaller than before. "Tonight a caretaker acted while the rest of us admired ourselves." He steps back so the camera frames the child and the glass instead of his smile. Later, the night is thin and blue in the conservation lab. The girl stands with her hands clasped behind her back. The mantle rests under calm light. You can see the tiny irregularities that make it human work. A thread that doubled back. A patch where time nibbled and was stopped. The chair leans on the doorframe, tie loosened. "My mother loved this wing," he says. "I stopped visiting after she died. It felt like listening to her play from the next room and never turning the corner." The girl nods. She is taller in quiet rooms. "I like that it's safe in there," she says, tilting her chin toward the glass. "It doesn't have to be brave all the time." A woman with a worn notebook steps in, smiling at the girl. "I was on the donor list tonight," she says to the chair, then to the child. And I'm also the one who signs your school field trip forms. The chair straightens, suddenly formal in the hush. I asked her, he says to the girl, nodding at the woman. How to start? Learning to be a safe place. I don't know how long the process takes. I only know I should have started sooner. The girl studies his face like it's glass she shouldn't touch. You don't promise fast, she says. You promise careful. He lets out a breath that might be the first honest one all evening. Careful, I can promise. They stand there together with the mantle between them, an old thing that survived on patience and attention, and a young person who has learned to read a room the way some people read music. In the reflection on the case, their shapes overlap. For a moment, their edges line up as if stitched. By the time the last guests drift into the night, the wing holds a new kind of quiet. No speeches, no toasts, just a soft mechanical hum and the faint rustle of linen being folded back into a cart. The manager writes an incident report later and, to her own surprise, adds a commendation. The curator sends a request for better portable equipment with a handwritten note. Thank you for listening to the smallest expert in the room. Security updates a protocol. If a child volunteer reports a risk to a collection item, get a conservator, not a camera. The chair calls the next morning and leaves a message. The girl will play twice before saving. He has his required class schedule in hand. He has a list of what he doesn't know. He has a question about Tuesday. When she returns to the wing the following week, the red dot is steady green. She stands close enough to see her breath not mark the glass. She counts. 1, 2, 3. Not because she's scared now, but because numbers make sense. The chair arrives a minute later, with 2 paper cups of unbranded tea and a notebook of his own. He doesn't stand at the front of the room. He takes the spot beside her, just off center, where you can see the work best. They watch the mantle in companionable silence. Old threads, new promises, both held together by hands that chose care over applause. Outside, another gala is being planned. Inside, the air is right.